Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Every Horror Film Where Horror is Forever. Thank you for joining us today. I do apologize for the lack of uploads within the past 2 weeks. Was out of town, had a wedding to go to, had a bunch of stuff going on, but no worries. We're back. We're back. And we are back today with a film that came out in the month of February, a long time ago. It's called The Fog. The Fog. Jeff, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I was excited when you threw the fog at me as our next pick because I have never seen it. I know that the 2005 remake is not good, but I've never even seen that because I don't know the original. So, you and I are on the same page in that I think it's safe to say that we are both big John Carpenter guys, right? I mean, John Carpenter, what more can be said? So, the fact that I hadn't seen this, dude, I'm ready. Let's hop into it. The Fog. It came out in 19 either 79 or 80.
80.
Nestled right in between the two heavy hitters, man, Halloween and The Thing. So, are we getting some kind of loose trilogy of just greatest of all times? I don't know, but I was eager to go into it, and I went into it completely open minded and with no idea of what this was even about. But had you seen it before?
I have not. No, this has been one of those 80s horror movies I've been wanting to watch for a while. Obviously, it's got John Carpenter's name on it. We're big fans of his, as most horror fans are. And I hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen the remake either. I really haven't heard anything about it, but I was very excited. I'm a huge 80s horror fan. I don't know. I kind of just like random 80s horror movies that I've never seen or heard of. This obviously is something we've heard of, but I don't know. I just have a thing for like random B movie 90s or excuse me 80s horror films. So I was excited. Anything 80s horror I usually enjoy and I want to watch. But I hadn't seen this like you mentioned. This in between Halloween in 1978 and The Thing 1982. So right there in the middle of that, John Carpenter coming off the heels of Halloween when he made this really. Um, and the cast in this movie, I mean, it is a star-studded cast if you want to talk about 80s horror or just 80s movies in general. You've got obviously Jamie Lee Curtis. We've got Adrienne Barbeau. She's a lot of 80s horror movies. Janet Leigh from Psycho. Her mom is in this movie as well. You've got uh, Tom Atkins in this
Mm-hmm.
movie, 80s. You got Charles Cyphers, the deputy sheriff from Halloween, Hal Holbrook. I mean, you've got a bunch of 80s names in this movie. So looking at the cast alone, it's kind of like a star-studded cast. You would think this is a great movie going into it. Jeff, I do not own the Blu-ray, so
Ah,
therefore you get to go first. Okay.
all
Give
right.
me give me your thoughts on the fog.
Well, it's interesting. Me and you both watched it separately on different days, very independently of each other, and we both had the same thing occur to us while we were watching it. And it's so funny that you said that because the same thing happened to both of us at exactly the same point, in that we both fell asleep halfway through, fell asleep at this thing. And I'm not trying to diss Carpenter with this, man, but this is the horror movie that you put on when it's bedtime. Let's just put it that way, man. It's I had to go back and restart it just to get through it, man. Not a bad movie, but boy, it was time for a nap. I don't know how else to describe it, man.
Yeah, God, I feel like we're gonna catch some flack for this, but we've got to
Oh
be
yeah.
honest.
Okay.
Like you said, it's not a bad movie. It's not a great movie. I just found it a bit boring.
Mm-hmm.
There's some good elements in the movie, which we'll talk about that I like. I like a lot. But there is a lot of scenes where not a lot of things happen. Um, it kind of gave me Halloween 2 vibes a bit, where there's some really good stuff that happens, but there's so much like filler and just not, and I'm not gonna say nonsense, just stuff that just doesn't really add to the story.
Mhm.
And it just kind of drags on a bit and it's just kind of boring. And yeah, we both kind of fell asleep around the same the same part where the preacher father is reading that book he found in the wall that just somehow popped out of the wall randomly. Um, yeah, that's kind of where I was like, okay, let's get to the point. So
Yeah, man. And look, here's one of the harsh realities of The Fog is it was dealt a shit hand by coming out right on the heels of Halloween. I mean, there was just no way you were going to capitalize on that with something totally different. You
right.
know, if I was thinking, if in an alternate universe where Carpenter got to fulfill his idea for a Halloween anthology series, this would have made a great entry in that. October 31st, the fog rolls around in Antonio Bay. This would have been a great Halloween anthology piece. But on its own, no. I don't know if it's because Ghost Pirates are not for me. It honestly, what I think it is if it had come out even just 5 years earlier, it would have been a slam dunk. But
Mhm.
I mean, we had just exploded onto the scene of gore and slasher and hometown horror. You have the creature features of the 50s, and there was a little bit of like ghost story horror since then, but we're entering the slasher era, man. It's like Saw trying to come out today in a world of elevated horror. It's just like we're entering into a new era, and it's not your fault. But it's just I don't know, man. And it's not bad. Don't mistake my criticisms for it being bad. But one thing that I don't do when we do these reviews here, I don't go and watch other reviews on YouTube. I stay away from them before, after, doesn't matter. I don't watch them because I don't want it to taint what I'm saying here. I want everything to be my genuine reaction here. But after I watched this movie, I did what I never do. And I tried to watch some reviews of this movie on YouTube from, some of the horror review channels. And first of all, there's not many. And the ones that are there, I noticed a trend. The ones who spoke about it highly or in a positive light also shared a story about how they went as a kid to Blockbuster and got it,
Mhm.
or they watched it on their grandma's TV or whatever. They made this connection between a nostalgic memory from childhood, bridging it to the objective quality of the movie. And let's face it, people do that. That's not exclusive to horror. It happens all the time. People can't differentiate their favorites from the best. So I just thought it was funny, man. Everyone who thought highly of this movie saw it when it was fresh. Maybe it's because I'm 40 years late to the game. I don't know, but I got no attachment to this movie, and I don't think that's going to change.
Yeah, we actually both rented this movie. I'm assuming you rented it off Prime. Is that right?
Voodoo.
Voodoo. Okay. Yeah, so I rented it off Prime, and like you said, yeah, I'm actually the opposite. After I watch a movie, I go all in. I look up other people's reviews.
Really?
I go on Reddit. I'm looking at I'm going all in on what to see what people think. Not that it's gonna change my opinion. I'm just curious as to what other people think. Maybe there's something I picked up on or I didn't pick up on that I missed that maybe could put something together I have a question about. But yeah, like you said, a lot of people have an attachment to this movie because hey, they rented this movie, they found it when they were younger, we all have that with a lot of movies. Like for me, I love Halloween 6, even though I know it's a terrible film because I rented that movie a ton, or it was rented for me whenever I was a kid.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
personal.
yeah, it's personal. So just kind of getting into the movie itself. I'm not going to do the scene by scene breakdown like I typically do in our reviews because I just feel like that would make this review just really boring and just, it would drag it out. We just
I'm
don't
too
need to do
tired for
that.
it, man. Don't don't do it.
Here's the summary of the movie, and then we'll get to what we like and what we don't like. Basically, this town, Antonio Bay, on the coast of California, is getting ready to turn 100 years old, And there's this scene we start out with all these little kids, and there's this guy telling this ghost story around a campfire, classic stuff. And he's basically saying that on the 21st of April, essentially the ship came with 6 people on it, and they wanted to settle near Antonio Bay. And some of the people that were already living there, I guess they didn't want them to settle there, and they ended up killing these pirates or whatever off the ship. And basically they come back 100 years later to kill 6 people in honor of that 100-year holiday. And yeah, these ghost pirates return with this fog, and then they come to kill 6 people. And it turns out that the priest is his great grandfather, whoever his ancestors were a part of that 6 that killed the people. So I probably butchered that, but that essentially that's what happened. These pirates got killed. These people, they wanted to settle on this near this area. They're on a ship, and now they're back to kill people because it happened 100 years ago.
Yeah, that's, I mean, cut and dry. That's it. And I mean, we don't have to go into the whole Jamie Lee Curtis has sex with a mustacheless Tom Atkins. We don't have to talk about the radio announcer, man. I don't know. There's something about this that is just so. It's a movie, but there's nothing for me to chew on. I didn't walk away from this feeling full at all. Like, I don't know.
There's like 3 different plots going on in the movie. You've got the plot with Tom Atkins and Jamie Lee Curtis. He's a sailor or fisherman or whatever, and he just randomly picks her up on the side of the road. And then the whole movie, there's just not really a connection. They just kind of like go around. She's like, "Hey, can I come with you?" He's like, "Yeah." That's it. And then you've got the other plot with the priest, who finds the book of his ancestors, and he kind of figures out what really happened 100 years ago. And then you've got the other subplot of the lady from Halloween, Nancy Loomis, and Janet Leigh. They're like planning this thing for 100 years, this party for 100 years. They're going to celebrate. And it just kind of like shifts between all of those. And then in between that, there's the fog. Oh, and I forgot another point. I'm sorry. You also have the point of the radio DJ. And there's just like 4 or 5 different plots going on. And while it feels contained, it feels like it's just too much going on. And then they just added the scenes with the fog kind of in between that. But like you said, there's not a lot to really chew on and think about. Once you kind of understand what's going on, that's kind of it.
Yeah, and it's fine to have a movie with 6 different subplots, with 6 different character arcs where they all converge at the end. That's fine. We as audiences, even back then, we can keep up with that as long as the writing's good. So that's not an immediate nail in the coffin. But when you think about it, I mean, I think Carpenter himself even said that he put Jamie Lee Curtis in here because he was feeling bad that she was only known for Halloween and wanted to give her more stuff. I mean, yeah, he works with his heavy hitters every time. He works with the same cast members through different movies, but the star power is not there. So, what is Jamie Lee Curtis's purpose in this movie? I mean, there's no inherent connection to the fog. Her and Tom Atkins kind of just stumble onto it. The radio DJ is just keeping an eye out. The pastor or preacher, whatever you want to call him, he's really the only one that with any actual connection to this issue here.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else could just skedaddle, get the fuck out of Dodge. Like, why don't you just leave town when the haunted fog rolls in? Why? This isn't your fight. Why are you like trying to get to the bottom of this? Why are you trying to solve a mystery of a missing boat crew? Who are you? Right?
Right.
Who are these people to you? So I don't know. A little bit unrealistic decision making for the characters. A little bit just kind of like people are there while this is happening. I don't know. It was very, very empty. I couldn't even tell you these characters' names, to be completely honest. All I know is that Tom Atkins' name is Nick Castle, and I said, like the guy,
He
Nick
said
Castle.
it. He said it.
He said it, kind of. Yeah, that's it. That's the only name I remember. but I don't know, man. It feels like blasphemy talking about this with a Carpenter movie from the 70s or
I
80s.
know.
But it's what it is, man. Even by 80 standard, it's very shallow. And John Carpenter knew that when he had his initial cut, he had like an 80, 85 minute cut, and he was like, man, this is not going to work. Everyone's clamoring for the slashers. I know people were hot on Halloween. I'm pretty sure Friday the 13th was doing its rounds at this time. Texas Chainsaw had come out. Um, I saw people online talking about how they were comparing it to the market for Cronenberg's Scanners, where that had a gory
Hmm.
scene. I don't know Cronenberg movies that well, but the market was changing, like I said, and John Carpenter went back and he did a bunch of reshoots to add some violence to it, add some kills to it, add some spooky fog elements, and some ghost pirate zombies, and yeah, that added something to it. I mean, but if that's what you added in reshoots, dear God, the initial cut must have been an episode of Judge Judy, because that must have been boring as shit, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what a lot of what you said there. I'm going to say a couple more things, and then we'll kind of talk about what we liked and what we didn't like. You mentioned Jamie Lee Curtis, kind of just being thrown in this film, which happens. You know, people get thrown into movies just because of their name. And I love that on the poster, she's on the poster of the movie, but she's like the third or fourth character, like in order in this movie of
Yeah.
importance. It's like the radio DJ, Tom Atkins.
It's like, oh, if you love Halloween, you're gonna love this.
It's like, yeah, it's got the girl from Halloween in it. It's like,
She has like one action sequence, you know.
yeah, it's just it's I don't know. It's just kind of weird. But we'll get into some of the stuff that we like and what we don't like. We'll start with the stuff we like first because, like you said, I feel like we're coming off a bit harsh, and it feels weird talking bad about a John Carpenter film.
I know.
I feel like like it's April Fool's Day. I'm not gonna say we're talking bad about it. I just think like you said, it wasn't the worst movie ever, but it just didn't really do anything for me. It was just kind of there.
Yep. Yeah. We've done a couple first viewing reactions. Some of our reviews are from the first time we watched some of these movies that we've done, and this just
Right.
happens to be one. So, hey, if John Carpenter spits on me next time he sees me, it's fine. I'd rather give you my honest reaction of how I felt about it than manufacture some kind of attachment that I just don't have.
And I think John Carpenter would respect that. He seems like the type of guy that'd be like, you know what? I don't give a shit. Tell me what you
Dude,
thought.
John Carpenter is the coolest dude on the planet. Oh my god.
Exactly. So, I'll start with kind of the couple things that I do like. Number one, and I do like, I kind of do like the concept of this movie. I love like simplistic horror when it's old school. It's a haunted house. It's a ghost. It's a fog. I mean, I think that's a cool concept, and I do like the concept of this fog coming in and these like ghost pirates. To me, that seems kind of cool. Was it executed the best? No, but I like the concept. It's a very atmospheric movie. I feel like if this is in October and it's dark out and you got nothing going on, you just throw the fog on. I feel like this might could go up a couple notches just for the atmosphere. The score is great. As soon as the movie comes on, I'm like, if you told me if I didn't know who was directing the movie and I watched it for about 10 minutes, I would say this is a John Carpenter movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's the score, very simplistic but effective. I like it. The way it's shot, the cinematography is very solid. So I do like some of those things about it. On your end, give me some of your positives and things that you like.
I'll agree with you with the music. John Carpenter, if there's one thing he does as well as making movies, it's making music. Huge musical inspiration for me when I dabble in that. I love John Carpenter scores, man. They know exactly how to hit on the minimalist, but also the frequencies that make the hair on your neck stand up. Yeah, this one doesn't really have the staying power of Halloween or even The Thing. Like, you're not going to hear it as anybody's ringtone. And if you played it for me, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you it was from The Fog. but it's good. It is good. It's not bland and soupy. It is very when you hear a Linkin Park riff, it's Linkin Park. When you hear a Metallica riff, it's Metallica. When you hear a John Carpenter riff, it's John Carpenter. So yeah, it's John Carpenter. I'll listen to him as a music artist as much as I'd watch him as a movie director. So yeah, obviously score points there. The concept, I can't agree with you on, man. And
Mm.
that's a personal taste. But even aside from the booming era of slashers and bloody horror, even aside from that, because I didn't grow up in that expansion, the concept of ghost pirates coming in the fog to seek revenge for those who killed them 100 years ago and maybe not buried treasure, very Scooby-Doo to me. Very Are You Afraid of the Dark? Very Goosebumps. I don't like it. It's just not for me. It's like it just strikes me as if John Carpenter could make a horror film for kids and a PG-13 audience, this is the subject matter that he would pick. Um,
Well, I like all of those shows, so screw you, man.
hey, they're good shows. They're classics, right? I watch Scooby Doo all the time with my kid, but Scooby Doo and Halloween are a little bit different, huh? And I hate talking about Halloween so much, but it's just inevitable to talk about the fog. You're going to talk about Halloween. That is the immediate comparison that people are going to make,
Correct.
and that does it a huge disservice. And I wanted to avoid it, but I can't. So it's just what it is, man. I was expecting a little bit more, and I feel like haunted things in the fog killing people could work, but not with the pirate storyline. I'm fine with ghosts or zombies or aliens. I mean, the Mist is the one that you can compare it to the most, and The Mist is one of my top 10 greatest of all time. So I'm okay with the atmospheric horror of this thing, of nature rolling in and bringing evils with it. I like that. I'm just not a fan of ghost pirates, man, for real.
Now, what about, because there's some elements of that in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Are you a fan of those?
I saw the first couple of Pirates of the Caribbean movies as a kid, and yeah, that was cool. But that was a pirate movie. I went to it for a pirate movie. I got a pirate movie. Yeah, it's good. I knew The Fog was a ghost pirate movie. It's just not scary to me, man. Maybe if I lived in a lighthouse town, I'd be a little bit more scared of it. But I'm just
It,
I'm just not.
that's funny that you mentioned that at the lighthouse. Obviously we live on the coast,
Mhm.
but me and you aren't really, the type of people that live by the water.
No.
Um, this movie, I have seen some reviews where people talk about it that this movie, I hate saying this, but hits different if you if you maybe live by the coast, like
Yeah.
I don't know, some people, because fogs do happen and things like that. I don't know, maybe that kind of adds a little something to people that have watched this movie. But I will say another couple of things that I like. I do love. I know you said you're not a fan of the Ghost Pirates.
Mhm.
When they're there, I think it's fantastic because they are shadow, they're far away, you really can't make out what they look like. They don't talk. They don't make it's very eerie. The few
Yeah.
shots that we do get of them when they're like just kind of standing like in a shadow in the fog, I think are excellent. That's honestly my favorite parts of the movie. When they jump on the boat the first time and they killed the three guys, I was like, okay, maybe this movie is gonna go somewhere. I'm in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But those scenes with the ghost pirates when they make their entrance and they're just kind of standing there in the shadows, that did really work for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good point too. I was about to bring up that's one of my likes. My first golden rule with horror: don't show me the monster. Nobody in horror understands that rule better than John Carpenter. John Carpenter is most famous for leaning into that mystery, that intrigue, that unknowing of what is going on, what's in the shadows, what's behind the mask, what's under your skin. That John Carpenter gets that, man. He's the one that invented that rule. So even here in the fog, nails it right out the gate. You never get a good look at the pirates. You can tell that they're menacing. You can tell they got a little bit of zombie aspect, a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
mummy aspect. You know, they got the hooks. I think there's one glimpse that you get of them where they're like, there's some light on the cheek, and you can see it's like necrosis and like
Yeah,
rotted with maggots. So, hey, good creature design. I need to see more of it. You got it, man. Golden rule number one. I know you got it. John Carpenter, I can always count on you to get that rule.
absolutely. So yeah, we both agree on that. While I like a lot of the actors in this movie, I don't know if I love the characters, and that's probably where
Yeah.
I'm going to start to go to what I dislike about the movie. Um, I don't really feel any connection with any of the characters at all. I never really felt like anyone was in jeopardy of something bad happening to them despite what happened. No one really dies in this movie except just a couple random people.
Yeah.
The stakes aren't really raised. The character Tom Atkins, I love him in a lot of his films, but in this movie, he's just kind of there. He's like, yeah, I'm an old guy that's having sex with young girls. Well, who cares? You know, Jamie Lee Curtis is there just because she's Jamie Lee Curtis. I want to be in something else that's not Halloween, like you said.
No.
So they've got a bunch of people that were in Halloween that are in this movie that don't really add anything to the movie. The characters are just there. I don't really care what happens to them, and that's probably one of my strongest things, other than the movie just being boring, is that I just don't care about the characters.
Yeah, yeah. There's no investment with the characters other than the preacher man who's specifically related to someone who the ghost pirates are after. These guys are just there by happenstance. One more like that I have that I didn't mention is
Mm-hmm.
the practical effects with the actual fog and some of the close up shots. The dry ice fog rolling in behind the window, slam dunk, absolutely hits great. I don't care how good your CGI is. If when you show me a sweeping landscape shot of fog rolling over the ocean, whatever, don't care. You show me something out the door where there's like this rolling cloud of dry ice fog, that's creepy as hell. Even if
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing in it, that's scary. I like that. So I very much like the shots where it's kind of like seeping through the window. But that's the end of my likes. Right onto the right onto the dislikes. Number one, like you said, the characters, man. They're empty. They're just there. It's just the character is not Nick Castle. The character is just Tom Atkins in this movie. The character is not whatever her name is. The character is Jamie Lee Curtis. So other than the radio DJ, no one really has more than a one-dimensional personality. It's just very like I don't care what happens to these people. I care so little about what happens to these people that I couldn't even tell you how many people died. I have no idea. I know there was this thing about how six must die because six caused the tragedy, so they're here to enact revenge, and then the sign morphing to say six must die. I couldn't even tell you if six of them died. I don't know how many died.
I don't know either.
Halfway through, when Jamie Lee Curtis was in the morgue with that with that drowned victim or whatever, and he comes to life, he starts swinging at her, and they take him down. He's scratching into the floor three. What does that mean? Does that mean there's three left? Did they already kill three? If so, when did that happen? I couldn't keep up with it, man. I had no,
So
I couldn't even
yeah,
tell you.
three because they killed three guys on the boat. So therefore, they had three left.
That's what I figured, but I couldn't. At that moment, I said, "Oh, okay, they got three left." Where did they kill three guys? I thought there
Yeah,
was two.
it's not, it's not okay, we've got to kill six people. It's not like in the back of your head you're thinking about, okay, there's one, there's two. It just kind of happens. You're like, wait, how many people have they killed? I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, I will say, I will say another one of my likes real quick. I think we both love the scene with the lady getting drug into the fog.
Dude, honestly, I don't even remember.
Yeah,
Remind me.
where the old lady's babysitting the kid.
Oh, yeah, the old lady with the kid. Yeah, yeah.
And the DJ, his mom is like, he's like, get out, like help my son. And then she's like, go to your room, go to your room. And then as soon as he closes the door, she's like, oh, gets taken away in the fall.
Dude, so like campy 80s, my God.
So bad, it's good. I did like that scene. But yeah, back to what I was saying, and I want to say this because we both use the word boring in this movie. I don't want people to think that, oh, they're so you don't like movies when there's not a bunch of stuff going on. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I love slow burn movies. In
Yeah,
fact,
dude.
they're my favorite. But this movie, there's a difference between that and things just kind of not happening over and over and over and over and just prodding along. And that's kind of what we got here. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and people will jump on that too. Like, oh, you got the TikTok attention span. You need something happening every 5 minutes. You need superheroes in your movie. No, slow burns are fine if there's nutritional value to chew on the whole time.
Right.
There's not. This movie is an hour and a half long, and I could not tell you one line of dialogue for real. I got nothing. I got nothing out of it for real.
Pretty much. So yeah, those are kind of the things that we dislike. Um, you know, just pretty much the characters and it just the movie just kind of prods along. Um, I will say also the Charles Cyphers, which God bless him because he was also in Halloween Kills,
Oh boy.
but the 40 years ago. In this movie, he's like the weatherman, weather service guy, and he just keeps calling the DJ. And then I don't know, his character is just odd to me. It just doesn't make any sense. It's just I don't know.
They all have like one purpose, and that purpose is to either call the radio DJ or be the radio DJ or have sex or ask question, like or read book. Like it's so very like
Read book.
these characters don't matter, man. Like they're very NPC to me, and it's unfortunate because the actors are good. They just didn't have anything to work with.
It's funny because John Carpenter actually makes an appearance in the beginning of this movie.
Character asked to be paid.
Can I get paid? He's
Hey,
like,
can I get paid? All right, bye.
you know what? Just instead of coming in at 4, come in at 6. Just walks away.
You're right. It's like, you know what? You can have less hours
You
now. How
can
about that?
have less hours. So yeah. So we'll kind of cut to the ending here. Basically, the fog has kind of really taken over, and our main characters from all the subplots they kind of end up meeting up at this church. They meet up with the father, and he's like we're all doomed, we're gonna die, blah blah blah, and then they're like, no, we're gonna survive, don't worry. And the fog comes in, and pretty much they kind of figure out that um they need to give the gold back, the treasure or whatever that they stole. It's like a golden cross, which they just inadvertently pull out of the wall. I, maybe they mentioned that somewhere in the movie and I just didn't pick it up. But I'm just sitting there watching. I'm like, how the fuck did they just pull this thing out of the wall? Like, where'd that come from? Uh,
Yes, I think in that journal there was like there was something about treasure, and then I guess the cross was like the melted down gold to make the cross or something. I don't know.
yeah, so something like that. And the father pulls it out, and he goes out there to the lead pirate. I think his name was Blake or something like that.
Yeah.
And he comes out there. He's like, "Here's the gold." And then the pirate like grabs it, and then he grabs it, and they're both like shaking and like turning like bright yellow. And
Yeah.
uh, uh, God, I cannot think. Nick Castle in the movie pulls the father away, and then like the pirates like disappear, and then they're like, okay, we're good. And then I will say the ending isn't bad. Where like I think the coast is clear, and then like the father like has like a little scene, and then he turns around. I guess they'd only killed 5 people at that point, and then the pirate turns around and slashes them, and that's kind of the end of the movie. 6 people die. They get what they want.
Mm.
And
Yep.
Yeah.
That's that. I mean, that's it, dude. No Freddy Krueger drop top. No beheading. No, it just ends, man. And dude, I don't know. I don't know, man. I feel so bad, and I'm trying to think of ways that it would be better because I usually try to do that. Like because I was told a long time ago, like if you're gonna have some criticisms, bring some advice to the table on how you would do it differently if you got so much to say. But I my only idea is that the story should have been solely about the pastor and his family heritage, him coming to grips with the fact that his family was responsible for this tragedy. So all the death and destruction in the town, it falls on him whether he likes it or not, and he has to choose to make the sacrifice or let the town live with it. There was a good movie there. There was a good movie inside of this foggy atmosphere, but focusing on four different plot lines of NPCs, no, it wasn't it, man. I don't know. Part of me wants to go and watch the 2005 remake to see if they changed things up or to see if they honed in on something different. I know it's going to be worse, but still, it's there, but it's just not quite. It needs more time in the oven because you just have a
Right.
little bit too much fat around the edges. It's just it. The potential is there, and I know John Carpenter gave it his all to try to break himself away from the mold that Halloween gave him. It just wasn't it. It just wasn't, and for me, it's probably never gonna be.
Yeah, I like the idea of what you mentioned about it being more about the father. And it's weird because he's the only one that has like real connection here. And
Yeah,
he spends the whole movie like just hiding away and like
reading a book.
reading a book. And we've got these other scenes of like people just ride around in a car, and then we get the couple scenes of the DJ talking, and then the pirates show up every now and again, and it's just like that stuff's okay, but like this would have been better. So I do like your idea there.
Yeah, I mean, you have the scenes where like the DJ is getting chased onto the roof, and zombies are like pounding on the window or whatever. I said zombies. I said zombies, not ghost pirates, but that goes to show that the storyline with the ghost pirates and the personal connection and the revenge story here should have been honed in on with the characters directly involved. You wanted to do something that lives in the fog, but they act like zombies. Just make them zombies, man. Just make them zombies. The fog brings the dead to life. Let's just call it
Mhm.
that, right? That would have been fine. But you bring in the ghost pirates and the tragedy of the leper colony that got killed, and the revenge and the treasure and the
Yep,
you got the wrong story for the type of movie you were trying to make.
pretty much. So with that being said, we will go into our grades. I'll start it off. Kind of like we mentioned, there are some elements of this movie that I do like. I do like the concept. I know you don't. I like the atmosphere, the fog. They've got some great actors in the movie. The score is very solid. It's very atmospheric. I would say I probably, just because I am the way I am. In October, if I've got nothing going on and it's late at night, I'm like, you know what? I might throw the fog on and give it just one more try when I'm in that state of mind when it's dark out, it's October, and I just want some atmosphere, nothing too much to chew on. I might give it another spin to see how I feel about it. But as of right now for this review, I have characters I don't care about. The movie just kind of prods along. It's just kind of boring. Um, you know, uh, there's not really that much to really think about, and even for the kills really aren't that graphic or insane. The best kills when the pirate stabs the guy in the eyes. That's a cool kill, but other than that, it's just people getting stabbed with a hook, and that's kind of it. But despite me not liking this movie, I also don't hate this movie. It's just there. And so, with that being said, I'm not going to be super harsh on it because there are movies that really piss me off. I'm going to give this a C minus. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It's just kind of exists, and I probably will rewatch it again one day just to give it another fair shake. maybe I'll watch the remake as well. But I'm gonna go C minus.
That's pretty much where I'm at, man. It's not a bad movie. It's just so like middle of the totem pole. Like I don't even want to say default making the mold for horror. It's just so like it's not going to be remembered as a bad one. It's not going to be remembered as a good one.
Right.
So you can call it a cult classic if you want. It ain't for me. But like anything, I'm going to give it my golden rules. Rule number 1, don't show me the monster. I already talked about it. Carpenter is the master of this rule. The ghost pirates were shrouded the whole time. You nailed it. I never got a good look at the ghost pirates. You win that one. You move from an F to a D. Rule number 2, be scary at all times, not just when the threat is on screen. By definition, you're only scary when the threat is on screen. There's no fog. There's no ghost pirates. I ain't worried about it, right? So, no, you wrote yourself into a corner with that one. Unless the fog is sitting over the town the whole time, like the mist, I only need to be worried when the fog shows up. So, no, you don't get that point. Rule number 3, don't rely only on jump scares. You didn't rely only on jump scares. Yeah, the knockoff slasher kills were there, but the atmospheric fog rolling in, like the dread of, oh, what's in the fog, like
Right.
It was there. You didn't over rely on jump scares. I'll give you that, of course. And rule number 4, push the boundaries. Hell no, you didn't do anything to push the boundaries, man. So you got 2 out of 4. It puts you in the C range. I want to give you a perfect C. I want to give you a perfect mediocre C. But towards the end of the movie, man, there were multiple scenes where this loud ass, high pitched frequency foghorn played through my sound bar, and it was louder than the people talking. I had to change my EQ on my sound bar because watching it at night when people were sleeping, it goes like at different volumes and different pitches, and it just would not stop. Like, I get it if the shot is on a horn and it's doing that once or twice, but when you cut away from it, knock it off. It would go to like across the island, and it was still playing. So that was annoying. So I'm knocking you down to a C minus. So I'm going to give you a C minus. I am not going to watch this one again. I might watch the remake. I'm not going to buy this one on Blu-ray. Carpenter, I love you. I'm working on a tattoo for you with my 3 favorite Carpenter movies, but this is not even close to my top 5 Carpenter movies. I'm sorry.
So you have to be fair though. You have to get your 3 favorite Carpenter movies, and then your three least favorite. Would your 3 least favorite be this in this category?
Once I see all the Carpenter movies, this is a contender. I don't know what else. Aside from Carpenter's first like student film, I don't know yet, but I would not be surprised if this ended up close there.
Is it going to be a tattoo of like Jamie Lee Curtis? Like, oh, the fuck?
No, I haven't started it yet because I'm kind of just like finding the artist for it. But I got this idea for like in The Thing when there's the split face.
Yeah,
when the guy splits his face and it goes in 2 different directions. Half of this face is going to be Michael Myers, and half of this face is going to be one of the aliens from They Live with the sunglasses. So it's got Halloween, The Thing, and They Live as my tattoo, because those are my 3 favorite Carpenter movies.
that's gonna be sick. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
They I'm on IMDb right now, and they just showed the scene with the lady getting drunk in the midst. Oh my god. All right, we're done wasting your time. Thank you guys for tuning in and sticking with us. Thank you for watching Every Horror Film, where horror is forever. Go and check out our other reviews. We've got a bunch of stuff. We've done 2 big review franchises so far. Go and check those out. We're going to get into another one this summer. I'm not going to say which one it's going to be, but we will do one. And yeah, got a lot of good stuff coming for the rest of the year. So thank you guys, and we will see you on the next one.
The mummy has now been located.
The living mummy. The living mummy. Bullets won't stop.
Some creature out of time.
That was horrible. That was horrible.
He's completely out of control.
I saw those bodies.
Is he a man or a monster?
You actually knew a werewolf in a peaceful town where nothing ever happened.
That was horrible. That was horrible.
In the mystical regions of Transylvania.